Thanks for clicking through to my video. I'm really grateful for the privilege to be able to talk to you today about influencing others. When I say influence, I'm not referring to the old model with carrot and stick and rewarding people or punishing people. I don't think that works anymore these days. What do you think? No, when I think about influence, I think about inspiring people, helping them, and guiding them down a specific pathway. Influence is so important. Leadership, if you want to lead somebody, you need to inspire them, you need to influence them to go down a specific direction. In business, in sales, even as a parent, you need to influence your children. And one of the best ways to influence somebody is through asking questions. If you want to become a master of influence, you need to ask the right questions. Questions are the answers. Why? You can tell somebody, do this, do that, but if somebody arrives at an answer themselves, by you guiding them there, they own it, and it's so much more powerful. Is it okay if I tell you a story about a friend who I'll be coaching? So Thomas approached me and said, Klaus, I'm really struggling. I don't know what to focus on with my business, hiring, sales, marketing. Can you give me some help? And I basically asked him a series of questions. Thomas, tell me, what do you think is the most important thing for a business? I was like, to satisfy or exceed the needs of my customers and to add value. It's like, yeah. And tell me specifically, what does a company need to do for it to be a company? I was like, to make money, Klaus? Yep, that's right. It needs to make money. So tell me a little bit more about your approach to making money and finding customers. So he tells me that social media marketing and networking. And networking worked really well for in-person networking events. It's like, Thomas, tell me a little bit about your plans, your growth plans. Oh yeah, Klaus, I'm very ambitious. I'm going to have $2 million in revenue next year. Okay, Thomas, tell me, how do your current marketing activities support your growth plans? Thomas was quiet. And then after what felt like a minute, he said, oh, why didn't I get that before? What I'm doing right now, going out, talking to people, networking, it's so time consuming. I can never build that company that I'm envisioning to build. I get it. Yeah, he got it. I asked him a series of questions, but he really got the answer himself. I influenced him, I steered him in a certain direction. I knew roughly where I wanted to take him, but by guiding him, by influencing him with questions, he got the answer himself and he owns it now. And I can be assured that when he walks away, he will follow down that pathway because he bought into it. I think that nowadays we live in a world where there's so many impressions, so many information at our fingertips, and we're just being bombarded with news, with notifications, day in and day out. Smartphone, TV, advertisement, the internet. Would you agree with that? Our attention span is decreasing. If I tell somebody, do this, or do that, you're just one out of 1,000 impressions they get that day. But by asking the right questions and by getting them to come up with the answer themselves, they own it. And that's the power of asking questions. Alright, the first way to influence somebody is through questions. Questions. The second way to influence somebody is through stories. We all know stories. As a child, we grew up, our parents read stories to us, fairy tales. We're very familiar with that. The Bible is just a big collection of stories. Very, very powerful stories. Stories so powerful, they influence people to go into war against each other. That's the power of stories. Let me tell you a story about my dad. My dad was stern but very kind and just. And I remember one day he took me on a fishing trip, had a great time with him, and he taught me some really, really valuable life lessons. You're not experiencing my story right now. No, you're experiencing your own story about your own dad, a father-like figure, or somebody who influenced you at that age. And that's the power of storytelling, because you experience the story yourself. You have existing reference points that you link the story to. If I, for example, want my child to not be too trustworthy with strangers, I'll tell her a story about Little Red Riding Hood, how on a sunny day she went to the forest, she picked some flowers, and the strange creature came, the wolf. She told the creature the location of her grandma's house, and at the end she got eaten. So it's a set of logical steps to come to a specific outcome. If I just tell my child, don't do it, she won't get it. But she gets to the answer. Similar to asking questions, you can get to an answer through a set of logical steps and you derive there. Okay, so stories are a great way to influence people. 2. Stories. The third way to influence somebody is through metaphors. Let's say you're watching a video, and in the video I say, thanks for checking out my video, and I know why you clicked on it, because you're facing an uphill battle, because you're sick of swimming upstream. If I say something like that, everyone can relate to it, because metaphors are abstract and people relate to it to specific experiences. And that's the power of a metaphor, because it works with everyone, with a really wide audience, whether you talk to one person, 1,000 or 1,000,000. It works with everybody, because everyone associates very, very different experiences in their life. Tell me, who didn't face an uphill battle? Who didn't have a challenge? Who didn't have some obstacles in their life? Anybody, right? So whenever you write, whenever you address a wider audience, sales copy, email, presentation, videos, then using metaphors is a great way to connect with your entire audience. And one reason why metaphors work so well is they bypass your conscious mind and directly allow somebody to address them subconsciously. For example, you're in sales and you're trying to sell to somebody. And often people are very defensive, like, oh, I know you're trying to sell to me. They won't even listen to your message. They won't hear a thing of what you tell them. But if you use a metaphor or even a story, you can address somebody, you can bypass their rational thinking, address somebody on an emotional, subconscious level, and your message is much better to impact them and to influence them. So metaphors are a great way to influence somebody subconsciously. 3. Metaphor. And the fourth way to influence somebody is through imitation. We all like to spend time with people who are similar to us. What about you? Are you more extroverted, introverted? What type of person are you? And with what type of people are you comfortable? With whom do you really enjoy hanging out? There are studies that show that hiring managers really like to hire people who are similar to them. For example, an older, more experienced manager may hire somebody who reminds themselves of their younger self. That's also why changing culture is so difficult in companies. Companies always focusing on diversity, because people just naturally tend to align with people who are similar to them, similar beliefs, similar mindset. And by imitating somebody, you can achieve that similarity, establish a better relationship and rapport with somebody. For example, I have a friend, a lovely girl, I just say a lady, great lady. She's very shy, very quiet. Whenever I'm with her, I lower my voice. I don't use a lot of gestures. I'm really quiet and I try to listen a lot to what she's saying and don't overpower her. I'm not faking it. No, what I'm doing, I'm connecting with her and make her feel comfortable with me, because I know she's not comfortable with loud people. And by making somebody comfortable with my company, I can influence them, I can establish a relationship or a rapport with somebody. I can imitate somebody through the posture, my arms, my legs, through my gestures, vocabulary, choice of words, volume, loud, quiet. There are different ways to imitate somebody. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it's about faking. It's about making people feel comfortable around you, establishing a relationship, and thus influencing somebody. 4. Imitation. Alright, let me summarize it real quick for you. Questions are a great way to influence somebody by leading them down a specific pathway with a series of questions and get them to get to the answer themselves. If they derive at the solution themselves, they really own it. In a similar manner, stories are usually a set of logical steps that lead to a desired outcome. Metaphors work really well because they bypass the conscious mind, they bypass your rational thinking and allow you to address somebody subconsciously on the emotional level. Also, metaphors, similar to stories, work well with a wider audience because everybody can relate to a story or metaphor because they can associate it with their own personal experiences. And lastly, imitation is a great way to connect somebody, to influence somebody by making them feel comfortable with your company. You're probably wondering now and asking yourself, hey Klaus, these things sound all great, but how do I know which questions to ask, which stories to tell, and which metaphors to use in my sales pitch, in my emails? And that's where one important thing comes into play. If you want to influence somebody, you need to know what already influences them. The 6 basic human needs are needs that influence everybody. We're all influenced by those needs, you and I, and usually we have a top 2 needs. I'll be going to covering them in a separate video. Why? Because it's a little bit of a different topic and it's basically part 2 of how to influence others. So I invite you to continue the journey with me and check out this other video. If you enjoyed me here talking about influencing others and listing those 4 ways to influence people subconsciously and in a subtle manner, then I would be really grateful if you could hit the like button here on YouTube and share it on social media, Facebook and Twitter. I just want to say thank you for spending your time with me. It's a great privilege for me to talk to you about this topic. And yeah, make sure that the ship is not sailing without you and check out the second part of the series. Thanks for watching.
The Productivity Hacks Channel with Klaus Geisendorfer.